anything from around 100 mother cows and have a cow-calf operation. We also run anywhere from, depending on the year, 350 to 700 head of yearling steers. Buy steers in the fall and try to sell them in the early part of the summer. We've had real good luck with our steers and our yearlings, not with our health problems. We've been feeding the SweetPro products for about a year and a half, going on 2 years, and have had really good results with the number of cattle we can run on wheat fields like we're looking at now. These are good fields and cattle would do really good on them, but we've had good results with the medications working good and the health on these cattle, not having to spend a lot of money on doctoring, and we're able to run more. Where we're looking at now, there's right at 200 acres in these fields, and with the SweetPro tubs, we're able to run about 140 head of steers on these fields. This has been a good year, but we start these cattle on the Kaf Starter tubs and gradually move them up through the Kaf Kandi to the Sweet 16s. And depending on the year, we haven't check weighed these cattle, but they're weighing right at 7. We turned them out around the 1st of December, and depending on the markets and all, I like to keep cattle till in the middle of the summer or so before I sell them, but these cattle may be getting so big, as good as they're doing now, that we have to sell them earlier. We put some cattle on just native grass in the tubs, and they do good on them. We're able to run more numbers than we've probably ever run without grazing our country out, because we're off of it off and on through the year. Whenever we sell out cattle, well, we'll let them rest. We preferably buy in the fall and sell in the early part of the summer, but it kind of depends on the size and how good the cattle do. But I think you can see in the background, these steers have really done good. We got into this deal, we had one horse that we wanted a tub of Equipride to feed to that one horse, and I asked Rick Reeves about getting me a 5-gallon can of Equipride, and I ended up with a dealership feeding all these cattle. And it's probably one of the better things I did, and it wasn't my decision. Rick just insisted that I had to do this, and I think it's been one of the best decisions that we've made, is to run these cattle and use the SweetPro tubs. And they any cattle that we have, from the cow-calf operation to these yearlings. And the one thing, part of my background, I worked on a ranch that belonged to some big feedlots up in the Panhandle, and all we run was yearlings, and it was primarily a preconditioning yard. It was a big ranch, but most of the cattle were just there for a short period of time. And at that time, we had a liquid feed plant, made our own liquid feed, and I found out from making that liquid feed out of molasses that the molasses products wasn't working, and I tried feeding some molasses tubs to our cattle, you know, the cows and the yearlings too, and wasn't very satisfied, and was actually a pretty hard sell on somebody selling me to put cattle on tubs, because I thought they were all molasses tubs. And Rick Reeves and I had a pretty good argument over me telling him the tubs wasn't any good, and him insisting that they were. And then we finally tried them, and you know, they have no molasses in them, and they're just, it's just really works good, and it's really kind of amazing at how good these cattle do. And they're limited on the amount they eat, so they're not standing there and overeating like they would on strictly a molasses tub. And with these tubs, we're able to get a good gain. We haven't check weighed any of these cattle this year, but at one time last year, we put 80 head of steers on native grass, and when we check weighed them, the gain on them was costing us 45 cents a pound, and they were just on some native grass, just rough grass country. And the 45 cents a pound on the gain. That include the price of the lease on the pasture and the interest and everything we could think of that we'd put into those cattle, and we were still able to put the gain on them for 45 cents. And I thought we were doing good on them. And when we sold those cattle, they sold really good last summer, but they were bigger than we thought they were, because they were weighing a little over 9 when we sold them, and we were trying to sell them around 850 pounds. I watch the markets and study the markets a lot, and what feed will do for me and what it won't do. And like the old saying was, you make most of your money when you buy, not when you sell. And if you don't buy right, you don't make money when you sell. And part of that has to, if the feed you buy, the cost of it's not important, it's how it performs for you. You can buy cheap feed that don't work, or you can buy a better feed that works and be money ahead. And it's just, you get what you pay for. When we buy these cattle, last year we just fed them Kaf Kandi starting out, and then moved them up to the Sweet 16s. And this year we started them out on Kaf Starter tubs, and they were walking, balling, just weaned calves when we'd buy them, and they actually eat more and started better on the Kaf Starter tubs. They were able to eat more of it starting out, and then maybe we had them on it a month to 6 weeks on the Kaf Starter, and then we moved them to the Kaf Kandi. And now cattle this size, we just put them straight on Sweet 16 until we ship them. And of course, part of it, keeping these tubs out consistently, don't let them run out or anything, and that's the whole secret, I think, to it, is not letting them run out ever, and they regulate themselves back to eating. Last year, the bunch of cattle we had last year, they probably eat less than a pound a day on the 16 tubs when we had them out, and the gain was really good on it, and I didn't want to change anything. It worked for my pocketbook. And that's what we're all working for, is to make the money out of them. I'm not a hobby farmer. I don't do this. It has to make money, or I'm going to change. One of the things I've noticed this year is the medication we used. Like I said a while ago, I think I'd have to sit down and add up, but I think we put together about 550 of these steers, trying to buy 5-weight cattle, and I think we averaged around 5.5, and we were buying lots of bull calves and having to castrate them. And for some reason I had 2 calves to bleed out, and I lost them. But other than that, out of that 550, I lost 1 more. And done the same old thing, and didn't use a lot of real expensive drugs, and was able to keep the death loss to nearly nothing. And you don't want to lose many till you go to cutting profit. It generally takes at least on a good year the profit off of 2 to pay for 1 death loss. So it cuts you down pretty fast, and I think part of that is the tubs help the immune system of an animal to ward off some of these, and it also helps the medication to work better that you use when you do have a sick one.